Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel AWS DevOps Niche Level. So in this video, the topic what we are going to see is how to set up SonarQube to connect with PostgreSQL database. Okay, so I had already posted a video on SonarQube few days before, wherein I explained about what is SonarQube, what is its architecture, and how to set up SonarQube. Generally, by default, SonarQube will use its default embedded database, which is H2. And that is what I covered in my previous video on the SonarQube. So how to set up SonarQube and how by default it connects to the default embedded database. But however, SonarQube also has the capability to support MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL and Microsoft SQLServer. Some of my subscribers had asked me to post a video on how do you connect SonarQube to the PostgreSQL DB, and that is a trigger for me to put this video. So now let us go ahead and see how to set up SonarQube and how do we connect it to the PostgreSQL database server. So let us move ahead. Now, this will be the sequence of our lab instructions. First and foremost, let us launch a t2.small EC2 instance. The next step will be to install Java. Next, we will set up the PostgreSQL database on the same instance. And I'm typically going to use the Ubuntu operating system for this. So I'll be selecting the Ubuntu AMI in AWS. Then once the database setup is complete, we will go ahead and set up the SonarQube application. Then we will verify if the SonarQube is working fine and if it is able to connect to the database without any issues. So this will be the sequence of our lab instructions. So now let us move ahead with our first step of launching the t2.small EC2 instance. So why t2.small? Because SonarQube would require minimum 2 GB of memory for its functioning. So that is the reason we are directly going ahead and launching the t2.small type of EC2 instance. And I'm going to use the Ubuntu AMI to launch my instance. So let me go into the AWS console. So let us launch a Ubuntu instance here. So I click launch instance. And I'm going to name it as SonarQube. Here, let me select the Ubuntu AMI. And I will go ahead with the latest Ubuntu 22.04 version of the operating system. So instance type will be t2.small. So you can see here, this t2.small comes with one virtual CPU and 2 gigabytes of memory, which is a prerequisite for SonarQube. So key pair, let me go ahead and select one of my existing key pairs. And in the security group, I will allow the SSH traffic from my IP address for now. And then we will go ahead and launch the instance. So now the instance is in the process of getting launched. So meanwhile, what I will do, since SonarQube is going to run on the port 9000, let me go ahead and open that port as well, the security group. So let me click the security group. I go to the inbound rules, edit inbound rules. I will add a rule with custom TCP and the port number will be 9000, right? So I will select anywhere IPv4 and let us have this rule ready. Because SonarQube is going to listen on the port 9000. Okay, now the instance is in the running state. Let me connect to this instance. I'll grab the IP address. I will upload my private key. Just verify what was the key I used. Okay, 11/12/2023. Okay, looks like I have that key here. So let me try to create a new key. Okay, I think I have only this 10/12. Okay, fine, no issues. So what I will do is let me go ahead and terminate this instance. We will quickly launch another instance, selecting the other key pair. So let me say launch instance. SonarQube. Select Ubuntu. And here it will be t2 dot. For key pair, let me go ahead and select the one which is 10/12/2023 and allow SSH from my IP address. Go ahead and launch the instance. Okay, so while it is launching, let me go to the security tab. I think it is still loading the security groups. Let us give it some time. Okay, I don't know why it is taking so much time, but anyway, now the instance is in the running state. So now let us go ahead and directly connect to the instance. So let me grab this IP address and we will verify the connectivity to this instance. Telnet, the instance IP and port 22, you can see that I'm able to connect to the port 22. So let me directly log into this instance. Let me select the key as 10/12/2023.ppk. And this being a Ubuntu AMI, the default username will be Ubuntu. Right, so I will just log in as Ubuntu. So that's it. I'm inside the server now. So now let us go ahead and install Java. So let me pick the instructions to install Java 11. So this is done, right? So wherein we have launched the EC2 instance with the t2.small. Now we will install the Java 11 for SonarQube. So let me pick the steps to install Java 11. First is let me update the packages using this command apt-get update. So and then we will try to grep for the OpenJDK 11 package. Okay, this is okay. You can see here it is listing the OpenJDK 11 package. Now we will install the package. It is OpenJDK 11-JDK. Okay. So now it has installed the OpenJDK 11. Let us verify the Java version. Java minus version. You can see here 11.0.21. Okay. So now the next step is we will go ahead and install the PostgreSQL database on this same virtual machine, right? So here are the steps to install the Postgre database. So I'm just going to copy this. I'll copy this command. Now I will say apt-get update. Okay. So now let me use this command apt-get -y install PostgreSQL, right? Because we have basically downloaded the repository from this particular link, apt.postgresql.org. Now the repository is available on our local system. I will use this command to install the package. Okay. So now the PostgreSQL database has been installed. Now we will try to set a password for the PostgreSQL database. By default, it would have created a OS level user called Postgres. If I search for cat etc password, right, you can see here we have a Postgre user here, right, at the OS level. So now what we need to do, we need to set up a password for this user. Okay, so let me try to set up password as admin. It can be any password. I'm just using the password as admin this case. So what I will do, password Postgres, then I will set the password as admin. Okay. Now the Postgre user password has been updated successfully. Now, if at all I want to log into the Postgre SQL database, I need to first switch to this user, sudo su minus Postgre, right? Okay, so now you can see my user is a Postgre user. Now I want to log into the database and do some, activities there in terms of creating a database user, etc. So what I will do now, I'll just give the command psql. Okay, once I do that, I will be into the Postgre database. Now I am inside the Postgre database. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to create a user for the SonarQube application, and we also need to create a database called SonarQube. So let us go ahead and do that. The first will be create a database user and the database for SonarQube. So create user Sonar. That will be the first step. I'm creating a user with a name Sonar. So create user Sonar, semicolon, enter. Okay, so this is the first step. Secondly, alter user Sonar with encrypted password admin. What we are doing is we are giving the password as admin, setting the password as admin for this particular Sonar user. So let me copy this command. So alter user sonar with encrypted password. The password will be admin. So that is done. The next step is create database SonarQube, which will be owned by the Sonar user. So we are creating a database with the name SonarQube, and that database will be owned by the Sonar user. That will be our next step. Okay. Now grant all the privileges on the database SonarQube to the Sonar user. Basically, you are giving full permissions for the Sonar user in order to perform any activity on this SonarQube database. Okay. So I hope these steps are clear. So this is what we need to do from the database perspective. Now what we need to do, we'll have to come out of this PostgreSQL database. But before that, if I give a /l, we can see what are all the default databases that is available, right? Now, this is the database that I created. Okay. So I created a database called as SonarQube, right? So this is the database, because whatever we are seeing is the list of databases. So we created the SonarQube database, and we also created a Sonar user, which is going to be the owner for this particular database. Okay. Okay, now let me come out of this database. I will say Control Q. Okay. Now I will also go back to the root prompt because I need to restart the database services. So I'll use this command, which has to be done as a root user, right? So systemctl restart PostgreSQL. Now I will check the status of the PostgreSQL process. You can see here it is in the active state and it is running fine. Okay. Okay. So now let us see what is the next steps. So generally this PostgreSQL database will be running on the port 5432. So if I want to check it, I can give the command netstart -tul pn and grep for 5432. But it is going to give me an error that I need to install this particular utility, net-tools, because netstart will be available only from this utility. So let me go ahead and install this. Apt install net-tools. This is done. Now I will check for the netstart command, grepping for the port 5432. You can see here, the PostgreSQL database. This is a PostgreSQL database process which is running on the port 5432. Okay, so now what is the next step? Now we will have to do some configurations at the OS level in order to have the SonarQube application running fine on this instance. So what are all those configurations? One is we will have to put some settings in the etc sysctl.conf. The settings like this VM max map count, fs file, ulimit, all these settings has to be put in the sysctl.conf. Similarly, there is a system file called limits.conf. In that, we are defining a limit for the SonarQube application. Okay, so this link will detail about the prerequisites needed for setting up the SonarQube application. So as part of that only, we are going to add these two system level settings, right? So first, let me open this etc.ctl.conf and I'm going to add these entries. So I'll go back to my instance. I will say vi etc.ctl.conf. Probably I'll just go to the end of the line and I'm going to add these four settings. Okay. So now let me save this file. And on the other file, I'm going to add this setting. That is SonarQube no file. Allocate the memory. vi etc security limits.conf. Maybe before the end of the file, I'll insert these lines. Okay. Now the next step would be to reboot the server. So I'm going to use the init6 command in order to reboot the server, right? So let me say init space 6. Okay. So now the instance will be rebooted in few minutes. We'll check after a couple of minutes. Okay, so I think now the instance would have come up again. We close this session. Now we'll try to reconnect to this instance. Okay, login as Ubuntu. Then so now we have completed till this part, right? We have rebooted the server. The next comes the setup of the SonarQube, wherein first we need to download the binaries. I'm going to install the SonarQube version 8.9.2 from the community edition. So let me directly give this command and download this binaries. Okay, so before that, I will go into the root directory and I will go to OPT, and under OPT, I'm going to download this binaries. Okay, now I want to unzip this package. So I just say unzip, but it is asking us to install a utility called unzip, right? So let me go ahead and install this apt install unzip. Okay, now let us go ahead and unzip this package. We'll say unzip package name. Okay, done. Now what is our next step? So now we need to update the sonar.properties with some information related to the database credentials, because here we are going to use the PostgreSQL database, right? So we need to tell SonarQube what is our database and to with which user it has to connect to the database. So we have to edit some parameters. So what I will do is I will go into the SonarQube directory, and here we have a conf directory. So in the conf directory, there is a file called as sonar.properties. So let me open this file, and here we need to give some configurations. One is sonar JDBC username. So the username what we created in the database, it is sonar, right? And what is the password that we set in the database for this user? It is admin. That is a password, right? So I'm going to just uncomment this line. So this is our user credentials. Then let us go to the PostgreSQL section, wherein we need to uncomment this URL also. So sonar.jdbc URL is equal to jdbc colon PostgreSQL colon local host, because our PostgreSQL is also running on the same instance. So it would be local host. And what is the database name? It is SonarQube. So I will just leave it till here and remove the other part. Okay, so this would be your jdbc.url configuration. for PostgreSQL. So it will be localhost / SonarQube. Okay. Then there is one more parameter, that is this Sonar Web Java OPTS. So we need to uncomment this particular line also. Now let me go ahead and save the file. Okay, so this is a setting that we need to do for the SonarQube in the sonar.properties file. Now we will also need to create a SonarQube.service file whenever you want SonarQube to automatically start at the system boot up. So we will have to create this service file. Okay. So now what I will do, I'm going to create this SonarQube.service, and in that under the service section here, you can see that we are anyway using the user Sonar only to start the application. And you can see from where it is starting, OPT SonarQube bin Linux x84. So it is just navigating to this directory, but I think our directory is different. It is not SonarQube, but instead of that, it is SonarQube-8.9.2, right? So in order to make it uniform, what I will do is I will first remove this zip file. Then I will rename this SonarQube 8922 to just SonarQube, right? So that we will not have any conflict. So when we are creating this service file. So what I will do, I'm just going to copy everything. So here exe start is OPT SonarQube. That is what we have here, right? It's only SonarQube, and under that it will go into this bin directory. Then Linux x86-64, which is our operating system architecture. And from there, it is going to execute the sonar.sh script. Okay. So now let me go ahead and copy this full section. Fill this. We'll say enter. It looks like it's not properly aligned, I guess. Just give me a moment to properly align these things. So you can see here, we are directly starting the application with the user as Sonar, and group also is Sonar. And we have one more block called block. Okay, so now let me copy this. Okay, great. Now this file has been created successfully. This is the SonarQube.service file. So now what we will do, we will have to create a user called as Sonar. This is at the application level, right? And we are going to make the home directory as /opt/SonarQube. That is what this command is doing. Okay. Username will be Sonar, and the home directory will be /opt/SonarQube. So let me go ahead and execute this. Okay, done. Now chown -r. So for this Sonar user, we are giving full permissions. That is for Sonar user as well as Sonar group to this particular directory /opt/SonarQube. Okay. Now if you go into OPT and check SonarQube folder, we can see that it is now owned by the Sonar user and Sonar. So that is another prerequisite step. So now let us go ahead and reload the SonarQube services. Ideally, it is going to start only with the Sonar user, even if we execute this from the root prompt, right? So now what I will do is let me copy this command, sysctl, systemctl daemon reload, and systemctl start the SonarQube service. Okay, now let us verify the status of the SonarQube service. Systemctl status SonarQube, you can see that the service is active and running. So now we know that SonarQube is going to run on the port 9000, right? So let me go ahead and just check for this in netstat. Netstat minus TULPN grep for 9000. You can see that the application is listening on the port 9000. Right now, let us also verify in the instance security group if at all this port 9000 has been added. We go into the security, we open the security group, edit inbound rules. Okay, let me add the rule for opening the 9000 port anywhere IPv4 and then save the rules. Okay, so now anyway the SonarQube application is up and running. We have verified it as well. Now straight away we will be accessing this application from the browser. So I will grab the SonarQube instance IP address, right? And then let me put it in the browser. And since it is running on port 9000, I will say colon 9000. Now you can see that, the application is starting up and it is typically now connected to the PostgreSQL database, right? So I'm going to give the default credentials. Username is admin and password is admin. Now it will ask us to change the default password, right? So the old password will be admin. New password, maybe I'm giving it something different. Just updating the admin password and then I just update. Okay. So now you can see here, now the application is up and running successfully and it is basically connecting or communicating with the PostgreSQL database, right? So if at all we want to check again in the PostgreSQL database, so we can switch user to Postgres, right? And then if you give the command PL/SQL, okay, so you are going to be inside the database. Now, if you want to give a /L, it is going to list all the databases. So similarly, /Q will get you out of the database. Okay. So now this is how you basically spin up your PostgreSQL database and configure your SonarQube to connect to the PostgreSQL database. Okay, I hope this content was helpful. So basically, these are all the sequence of steps that we did. Okay. So team, also I wanted to let you know that I do conduct trainings on AWS and DevOps. Right, so AWS training would be typically aligned to the AWS SOP certification exam, and DevOps I cover all the tools, predominantly the popularly used tools across the various life cycle in DevOps, and with typical with more focus I would say on Kubernetes, Helm charts, Terraform, etc. Right? So if at all anyone would be interested to take up this training from me, you can feel free to send an email to the mentioned email ID. So I'll be sharing the details on the course content as well as the course fee. So the training mode is going to be an online session via Zoom, and the class recordings at the end of each and every class will be uploaded onto the Google Drive, in which you will be given access. So whether it is AWS or DevOps, it is typically going to span for 5 to 6 weeks. It's going to be an interactive course completely focused on the hands-on lab exercise, right? So if at all you want to get your hands dirty with AWS and DevOps, you can definitely send an email to me, and I'll make you comfortable with the very good hands-on exercises across all the tools and services within these two technologies. So I think that's all I had in this video. If you like this content, please press the like button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. And if you feel this content would be useful to any of your known circles, please feel free to share it to them as well. So thank you all, and I will meet you all in my next video.